Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive all about energies.
Energies.
Yeah, those subtle forces that some people say impact our well-being, even if science can't always, measure them.
Okay, yeah.
You guys sent in a bunch of really cool sources for this one. Articles about ancient traditions, modern healing methods, even some skeptical takes on the whole thing.
So we're going to be looking at energies from all sides then.
Exactly. It's like we're peeling back the layers of, I don't know, like an ancient mystery novel or something.
I like that.
And don't worry, we're not going to shy away from the tougher questions either.
No, we'll tackle it all. It all starts with figuring out what we even mean by energies,
Yeah, good point.
It's like imagine these invisible currents flowing through everything, impacting us physically, mentally, even emotionally.
I mean, I get the basic idea, but to be honest with you, I always struggle to understand how something invisible can have such a tangible effect on us.
Think of it like this. You can't see Wi-Fi, right? But it connects you to the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe these energies work on a similar principle. Unseen forces, but they impact reality.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
So how do different spiritual traditions view these energies? It's probably not one size fits all, is it?
No, you're absolutely right. There's a ton of diversity in how these concepts are understood and used. But one thing that pops up a lot is this idea of a life force energy.
Okay.
In Chinese medicine, it's qi. In Hinduism, it's prana. It's the energy that keeps us going.
I've heard of qi, like with acupuncture, but I always thought that was just a Chinese medicine thing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how so many cultures have these similar ideas.
Yeah, isn't it? And it's not just about this overall life force. Many traditions also describe specific energy centers in the body. You've probably heard of chakras, right?
Yeah.
7 main ones, at least according to yogic traditions.
Right.
And each chakra is associated with different aspects of us: emotions, creativity, even our sense of purpose.
Okay, now we're talking. It's not just one big energy field then. It's more like a system with all these different types of energies interacting within us.
Exactly. And then on top of that, there's this concept of a universal energy, a limitless force connecting everything in the universe. It's often called the source, or sometimes even the divine.
Okay, that's where I start to lose it a little bit.
Yeah, it's a lot.
But let's stick with these cultural interpretations for now. The sources you guys sent in mentioned some pretty wild historical examples of how people have, worked with energies.
Like take Chinese medicine, for instance. They've been mapping the flow of qi through the body for centuries.
Wow.
Those meridians that acupuncturists target, they're basically energetic highways.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and when qi gets blocked, it's thought to cause all sorts of imbalances, which can manifest as physical or emotional issues.
You know what? I've tried acupuncture, but I never really got the theory behind it. It always seemed a bit, mystical. But thinking of it as unblocking these energy pathways, actually, that makes a lot more sense to me now.
Right.
Yeah.
It changes your perspective. And it's not just acupuncture. Practices like Tai Chi and Qigong, they're all about cultivating and balancing qi.
Okay.
Almost like a moving meditation.
So there's this emphasis on actually working with the energy, not just passively accepting it as is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just in Eastern traditions either. Hinduism and Buddhism put a huge emphasis on prana, that life force energy. They think we can regulate it through breathing exercises and meditation.
Breathwork is really popular right now. I wonder if people are tapping into this ancient energy wisdom without even realizing it.
That's a really interesting thought. And let's not forget about indigenous cultures all around the world. They often have these deep beliefs in the energies within nature, like sacred groves, places of power, the energy of a waterfall. There's a real reverence for the unseen forces that animate the natural world.
I totally get that. Like when I'm hiking in the mountains, it feels like the air is buzzing with a different kind of energy. You can almost feel it.
Yeah.
But what about more modern stuff? Have these ancient ideas evolved into modern healing practices?
Absolutely. Reiki, for example.
Right.
It's based on the idea of channeling universal energy to help with healing. And then there's energy medicine, which is this whole field that covers a range of techniques for working with the body's subtle energy systems. They often combine ancient wisdom with modern understandings of anatomy and physiology.
So it sounds like this concept of energy is as relevant today as it was, I don't know, hundreds of years ago, just maybe packaged a bit differently.
Right.
But how do people actually go about working with these energies? What are some of the, practical methods they use?
That's where it gets really interesting. Meditation and visualization are pretty common. Just imagine closing your eyes, focusing your attention, and either, seeing or feeling the energy flowing inside of you.
Okay.
The idea is that focused intention can help you direct and balance this energy.
I've tried meditation before, but I'm not sure I've ever actually seen energy. It sounds kind of sci-fi, to be honest. Are there any other ways people work with energies, ones that feel a bit more, I don't know, grounded in reality?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There are definitely techniques that focus more on what you feel physically, like Reiki, for example.
Okay.
A practitioner will put their hands on or slightly above the recipient's body to channel energy. It's really gentle, not invasive at all. People often say they feel warmth, tingling, or just deep relaxation during a session.
So even if you can't see the energy, you might be able to feel it.
Huh. That makes me think about those heat maps they use in medical imaging. What if these subtle energies are doing something similar, just something we haven't figured out how to detect yet with our current technology?
That's a fascinating thought. And Reiki isn't the only method that uses physical sensations. Some people use crystals.
Right.
They think crystals can influence the energy field around your body.
Different crystals are supposed to have different properties. Some are grounding, others energizing, some help with emotional healing, things like that.
Crystals are really popular now, but I've always been a bit unsure about them. It all seems a bit too new agey for me. Is there actually any scientific basis for these claims about crystals?
That's where a bit of healthy skepticism comes in handy. While lots of people find crystals helpful, the science is still pretty limited.
I figured.
Some researchers say the effects might be because of the placebo effect, the power of belief affecting your experience.
Right.
Others think there might be some subtle electromagnetic stuff going on, but we need more research to really know for sure.
So maybe it's less about the crystal itself and more about what we believe it can do, the intention we bring to it, thinking that it can help us change our energy in some way.
Exactly. Intention is so important in energy work. And speaking of intention, we can't forget about breathing. Breathing exercises like pranayama and yoga, they're specifically for regulating energy levels. By changing how we breathe, we can affect both our body and mind. We can calm down our nervous system, become more alert, even shift our emotional state.
I've noticed that when I'm stressed out, just taking a few deep breaths can really make a difference.
Yeah.
I never thought of it as an energy thing, but maybe that's exactly what it is. Like I'm changing my internal energy just by changing how I breathe.
It is pretty amazing how such a simple thing can be so powerful. And then there's nature. Spending time in nature is often seen as a way to kind of cleanse and recharge our energy.
Oh, I 100% believe that. Like a good walk in the woods, it can totally reset my mood. It's like the trees are just sucking up all the negativity and giving back, like these pure vibes. But is there any science to back that up? Or is it just, how I feel?
There's actually more and more evidence that being in nature is good for us in measurable ways. Studies have shown that it lowers stress hormones, blood pressure, even boosts the immune system.
Well, okay.
Some researchers think being exposed to the Earth's natural electromagnetic field might be part of it, but they're still looking into it.
So whether it's through these ancient practices or just being out in nature, it seems like there are lots of tools for working with energies, even if science hasn't completely caught up yet. But that brings up a big question: what does science actually say about whether these energies even exist?
Yeah, good question. That's where things get a bit trickier. While lots of people say they have real experiences with energies, scientists are still debating it all. It's hard because these energies are subtle, you can't always measure them with the usual scientific methods, there's no easy way to quantify them or see them under a microscope.
So it's like trying to study the wind. We can see what it does, but we can't capture the wind itself. Does that mean science just rules out the possibility of these energies existing?
Not really. Just because we haven't figured out how to measure them yet doesn't mean they're not there. Science is always changing, always finding new stuff. I mean, think about it. It wasn't that long ago that we didn't understand electricity or magnetism, things we totally take for granted now.
That's true. We can't limit ourselves to just what we can explain right now. What about the placebo effect, though? How does that fit in with all the good things people say about energy healing?
The placebo effect is really interesting. It shows us how powerful the mind-body connection is. Like, when someone believes a treatment is going to help them, their body can actually get better, even if the treatment itself doesn't directly do anything.
So when it comes to energy healing, some of the positive effects could be because of suggestion, right? If they believe it'll work, their bodies might just respond that way.
It could be, yeah. But it's not always that simple. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Just because there's a placebo effect doesn't mean something else isn't happening, too.
Right, so maybe it's a combo of things. The power of belief, the practitioner's intention, maybe even these energies themselves, all working together to make someone feel better.
Exactly. It's complicated. And we need more research to really understand all the different factors. But here's something really interesting. Even if we ignore the whole debate about whether these energies can be scientifically proven, there's actually a lot of research showing the good effects of practices that are all about energy work.
Really, so even if we're not sure exactly how it works, the practices themselves seem to have real benefits. What kind of research are we talking about here?
Well, studies have shown that things like meditation, yoga, tai chi, all of which are based on the idea of energy flow and balance, can do all kinds of good stuff for both our physical and mental health.
Yeah, I've heard about the benefits of mindfulness and meditation. Seems like everyone's trying to meditate these days. But how does that tie into energies?
Well, people often think of meditation as a way to become aware of their inner energy. By calming your mind and focusing inward, you can start to notice more subtle sensations and energy flows. Some people say they feel lighter or more expansive during meditation. They think that's because their energy field is shifting.
So it's not just about relaxing, it's about actively cultivating a different way of being through working with these subtle energies.
Yeah, spot on. And it's not just meditation. Yoga, with all its poses, breathing techniques, and focus on energy flow, has also been getting a lot of support from science. Studies show that it can help with stress, flexibility, even chronic pain.
That's amazing. It seems like doing these practices, even if you don't completely buy into the whole energy concept, can still make you feel better overall.
For sure. And it's not just these Eastern practices. Reiki, which is a newer type of energy healing, has also been studied. The research is still a bit mixed, but some studies have found it can help with things like pain, anxiety, and sleep.
Wow, so there seems to be a lot of potential there, even if we don't have all the answers figured out yet. But I'm guessing there are also people who think this whole energy thing is a load of nonsense.
Yeah, you're right. There are definitely critics, and they bring up some good points. One common one is that there isn't enough solid scientific evidence. They say there's no one agreed upon way to measure or define these energies, so it's hard to study them scientifically.
So because there's no hard data, it's tough to prove it in a way that satisfies, like, the scientific method.
Yeah.
What are some other criticisms?
Another concern is that some practitioners might exaggerate what energy work can do. This can lead to people having unrealistic expectations, and even potentially cause harm if they decide to ditch regular medical treatment and only do energy healing.
Yeah, that's super important. People need to be careful and do their research and make smart decisions about their health. Energy work can be a great addition to regular medicine, but it shouldn't replace it completely. What other challenges or criticisms are there?
The whole commercialization of energy work is something else people criticize. It's becoming more and more popular, so there are tons of products and services popping up claiming to enhance or balance your energy, often for a hefty price tag. Some people worry that this is taking advantage of vulnerable people who are just looking to heal or grow.
Yeah, it sounds like there needs to be more regulation and honesty in the field, and people need to be skeptical and not just believe everything they hear. It's important to find qualified and ethical practitioners.
Totally agree. Being careful and thoughtful is important in any field, but especially when it comes to our health and well-being.
So, wow, we've covered a lot. Ancient traditions, modern practices, possible benefits, skeptical scientists, ethical concerns. It's a lot to take in. But where do we go from here? What are the main things our listeners should remember from all this?
That's a good question. I think one big takeaway is the power of intention and belief. Whether or not we fully understand the science, just the act of paying attention to our energy, whether through meditation, breathing exercises, or whatever, can really change how we feel.
It's like we're learning how to use this hidden control panel inside of us to adjust our own energy field.
Exactly. And even though science doesn't have all the answers, more and more research on things like meditation and yoga suggests there's something real going on here.
It's like a bridge between ancient wisdom and modern science. Like they're starting to agree on something.
And as we explore this connection, we need to be both curious and careful. We need to appreciate the potential benefits, but also be aware of the possible downsides.
It's a journey of self-discovery, and like any good adventure, you got to be open-minded, but also think critically. Wow, we've really gone deep on this energy stuff. Honestly, I feel more energized than overwhelmed. This deep dive has helped me understand all these practices I've heard about, like, forever.
Yeah, it's complicated, but that's what makes it so interesting, right? We've covered ancient Qi, modern Reiki, talked about the science and skepticism, even the ethical stuff.
Phew.
Yeah.
And for those of us who are, curious and want to try it out, Where do we even begin? You're not a doctor, I know, but the sources our listeners sent in seem to offer some starting points.
Right. And the first step is really looking inward, self-reflection. Before you try any techniques, it's good to think about what energy even means to you.
Mm,
Is it about your mood, physical energy, something more spiritual? Once you figure that out, it helps you focus your exploration.
makes sense. It's like setting an intention before you even start, right?
Yeah.
But then what? I can't just conjure up energy whenever I want, can I?
Maybe you can with practice, but meditation is a good place to start. You don't need any special tools or anything, just a willingness to sit quietly and pay attention to what's happening inside.
I've heard that, but it always seemed kind of passive. Like, how does just sitting there affect my energy?
It's not about forcing, it's about making space. When you quiet down the mental noise, you start to notice subtle things. Maybe a tingling in your hands, a warmth in your chest, even a feeling of expansiveness. Those could be signs of your energy field.
So it's like meditation helps you tune in to those frequencies you mentioned, like turning on a radio to a station you didn't even know was there.
Exactly. And once you've got that, you can explore other techniques. Our listeners mentioned Reiki, chakra balancing, crystals, so much to discover.
It's a lot, though. How do you choose which one to try?
Think of it like a buffet. Try a little bit of everything, see what you like. Maybe Reiki, with its hands-on approach, feels right, or maybe the visual aspect of chakra work appeals to you. Follow your gut. What feels exciting and empowering.
It's almost like we're talking about developing a new sense.
Yeah.
An energy sense.
Yeah.
And just like any skill, it takes practice and trying things out.
Yeah, exactly. And don't just believe everything you hear, Stay skeptical, be a smart consumer, and trust your own experiences above all else.
Well, this deep dive has definitely given me tons to think about and try. I'm feeling inspired to explore my own energy and see what's possible.
That's fantastic. It's all about discovering that power within ourselves. Whether you call it chi, prana, or just vital life force, it's clear we have more influence over our well-being than we might think.
So, to our listener and everyone joining us as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on. If, as some people believe, we're all connected by this invisible web of energy, what does that mean for how we interact, how we impact the world, and how we treat each other? It's something to ponder as you keep exploring this fascinating world of energies. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.